Okay, so today we're going on a deep dive into some fascinating stuff. We're talking astrology and numerology all rolled into one.
Right.
And we're doing it for a very specific person. Someone born on November 11th, 1956 at night in Orange, New Jersey.
Interesting.
Now, right off the bat, that tells us a couple things. First of all, this person is a Scorpio. With that 11/11 birthday.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's already pretty interesting, right?
Definitely. Scorpios are known for their intensity. It's a water sign. Very emotional.
Yeah. And that 11/11, there's something powerful about that, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. We'll definitely dig into that more later on. But yeah, Scorpios, they go deep. They're not afraid of the dark stuff. In fact, they're often drawn to it.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So for our listener out there, if you were born on that date, think about that. Embrace that depth. It's part of what makes you you.
It's a gift, really. That intensity can be a source of so much passion, so much personal power.
Definitely. But let's break this down a little further. We know our listener is a Scorpio, but to get a full picture, we need to look at their entire birth chart. Now, there's a little bit of a mystery here because we don't know the exact birth time.
Right.
So we can't say for sure what their moon sign is. It could be Aquarius or Pisces, depending on the time of night they were born.
And those are two pretty different energies, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Talk about two different emotional landscapes.
Yeah. An Aquarius moon, that tends to be more intellectual, maybe a little detached, emotionally speaking, but very humanitarian, very focused on the bigger picture.
Yeah, always thinking about the greater good. Very innovative too, right? Always coming up with new ideas.
Right, exactly. Now, a Pisces moon, on the other hand,
Oh, that's totally different.
night and day. This is someone who's incredibly sensitive, deeply empathetic, like they can actually feel other people's emotions.
Almost like psychic.
Yeah, there's a strong intuitive element there. And they're often very creative, too, drawn to music, art, anything that allows them to express those deep emotions.
So for our listener, think about which of those resonates more with you. Do you tend to be more intellectual and detached? Or are you more of a feeler, someone who's deeply in touch with their emotions and those of others?
It's something to ponder, for sure. But either way, the moon sign adds another layer to the personality. It's how we react to things, how we process our feelings.
It's our inner world, right?
Exactly.
And it's fascinating how different those inner worlds can be, even for people who share the same sun sign. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the exact birth time to figure out the ascendant or rising sign.
Which is a shame.
It is, because that's how the world sees you. It's your outward personality.
It's that first impression you make.
Exactly. But hey, maybe that's a mystery for another day.
Or maybe our listener knows their birth time and they can look it up themselves.
Yeah, good point. But for now, let's move on to some of the other planets in the birth chart.
Okay, sounds good. Where should we start?
How about Mercury? That's all about communication, right? How
Yeah.
we think, how we express ourselves.
Right. And in this case, Mercury is in Scorpio. So again, we're
Yeah.
seeing that intensity. This is someone who's a deep thinker. They like to analyze things, get to the bottom of things.
Yeah, very curious. And probably pretty good at research, too. They wouldn't be satisfied with surface-level answers.
Definitely not. They want to understand the why, the how, the hidden meanings behind everything.
Makes sense for a Scorpio. Always looking for what's beneath the surface. Okay, what about Venus? That's love and relationships, right?
Right. And Venus is in Sagittarius. So that suggests someone who values freedom and independence in their relationships.
Ah, interesting. So maybe a bit of a tension there with the Scorpio intensity, which can sometimes be a bit possessive, wouldn't you say?
Possibly. But it's also about expanding horizons. Sagittarius is all about adventure, exploring new things. So this could manifest as a desire for a partner who shares that thirst for knowledge, that love of travel and new experiences.
Yeah, someone who can keep up with them. That's important. Okay, now, Mars, that's energy in action. Where does that fall in the chart?
Mars is in Leo.
Ah, Leo, the sign of the lion.
Exactly. So we're talking about someone who's naturally charismatic. They like to be in the spotlight. They have a strong sense of self, and they're not afraid to express it.
Yeah, very confident. Probably a good leader too, right?
Definitely. They have that natural ability to inspire and motivate others.
So we're seeing a lot of strong placements here. This person is intense, independent, charismatic, and probably not afraid of a challenge.
Sounds about right. But there's more. We also have Jupiter in Virgo.
Okay, Virgo. That's the sign of the detail-oriented, right? The perfectionist.
In a way, yes, but it's also about service. Virgos are very practical, very grounded. They like to help others to make things better.
So maybe this person finds fulfillment in helping others. Maybe they're drawn to a career where they can make a difference.
It's certainly possible. And with Jupiter there, it amplifies those qualities. So they might be very successful in whatever field they choose, especially if it involves helping others or making the world a better place.
Wow, that's quite a picture we're painting here. This person is like a force of nature. Intense, independent, charismatic, helpful, and successful. What's not to love?
Well, no one's perfect, right? And we still have one more planet to look at, Saturn.
Oh, right. Saturn. That's the planet of karma, right? Lessons to be learned.
In a way, yes. It's about responsibility, discipline, structure. And in this case, Saturn is in Sagittarius.
So maybe a bit of a challenge there with the Sagittarius love of freedom. Like they might feel a pull between wanting to explore and feeling a sense of duty or responsibility.
It's possible, but it can also manifest as a deep commitment to their beliefs. They might be very philosophical, very concerned with truth and justice.
Yeah, that makes sense. They wouldn't take their beliefs lightly. They would really think them through, make sure they were aligned with their values.
Exactly. So overall, I think this is a very interesting chart. We have a lot of powerful energies at play here. It's definitely someone who's meant to do great things in the world.
I agree. But let's not forget about numerology. That's a whole other layer to this, right?
Absolutely. And in this case, it's just as fascinating as the astrology.
Okay, so remind me, how do we calculate the life path number again?
Sure. We add up all the digits of the birth date, and then we keep reducing it until we get a single digit.
So for November 11th, 1956, that would be 11 plus 11 plus 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 6.
And it adds up to 43.
Then 4 plus 3 is 7.
Exactly. So this person has a life path number of 7.
Okay, so what does that tell us?
Well, the number 7 is all about seeking truth and wisdom. It's the path of the philosopher, the spiritual seeker. People with this life path are often very introspective, very analytical. They have a deep need to understand the world around them.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? It aligns perfectly with that Scorpio energy we were talking about earlier. Both are drawn to the mysteries of life. They want to go beyond the surface to find the hidden meanings.
It's like it's all coming together, isn't it?
It really is. And then, of course, we can't forget about that 11/11 birthday.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's not just any number.
Definitely not. In numerology, 11 is considered a master number.
And what does that mean exactly?
Well, it means it has a higher vibration. It's associated with intuition, spiritual insight, even psychic abilities.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
It is. People with master numbers in their charts often have a strong connection to the spiritual realm. They might be very sensitive to energy, very intuitive.
And it's a double 11, too. That has to amplify things even more.
It definitely does. And 11 is also considered a portal number. It's associated with synchronicity, with being in alignment with your destiny.
So basically, this person is like a walking antenna for spiritual energy.
You could say that, yes. They have a lot of potential for spiritual growth and understanding.
It's incredible. So what happens when we put all of this together? We have a Scorpio sun, a potential Aquarius. For number 11 in the birthday.
It's a potent combination, that's for sure. We're talking about someone who's deeply intuitive, very analytical, and drawn to the mysteries of life.
And they have that Scorpio intensity, that drive to get to the truth of things.
Right. They're not going to be satisfied with superficial answers. They want to understand the deeper meaning behind everything.
And with that master number 11, they might even have some psychic abilities. They might be able to tap into information that's not accessible to most people.
Exactly. This person has the potential to be a real trailblazer, a spiritual leader. They could really make a difference in the world.
Wow, that's quite a legacy. So to wrap things up, I think we've learned a lot about our November 11th listener.
We have. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
Indeed. We've seen how their Scorpio sun, their potential moon sign, their life path 7, and their master number 11 all work together to create a truly unique individual, someone with a lot of depth, a lot of potential.
And as a final thought for our listener, I would say this. Embrace your uniqueness. Explore your intuition. Don't be afraid to ask the big questions. You have the potential to uncover some truly amazing truths.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been enlightening.
My pleasure. Always happy to explore the mysteries of astrology and numerology.
Until next time, keep looking up and keep digging deeper. You never know what you might find.
Well said.
And to our November 11th listener, happy birthday. May your year be filled with insight and wonder.
And may you always follow your intuition.
Cheers to that.
Cheers!
Ready for a little time travel?
Always up for a good history trip.
Perfect, because today we're diving deep into November 11th, 1956.
Ooh, mid-50s. That's a pretty interesting era. Lot going on.
Oh, absolutely. We've got a lot to unpack, a little bit of everything, really. We're talking music, television, global events, even a little bit of Hollywood.
Sounds like a packed day. Where do we even start?
Well, how about we set the scene first? Imagine a world without color TV. Can you even picture that?
Black and white all the way. It's wild to think about how different the viewing experience must have been.
Right. And yet, this was the reality for most people back then.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. November 11th, 1956 was actually a landmark day for television. It was the very first time that The Wizard of Oz was broadcast on TV in its entirety.
Whoa, no cuts. That's a pretty big deal. Before that, it was only ever shown in segments.
Exactly. So you can imagine the excitement. Families all across America gathered around their black and white TVs to watch this beloved film.
I bet it was a huge cultural event. I mean, even today, The Wizard of Oz is iconic.
Totally. Speaking of iconic, let's jump over the music charts for a second. What do you think was the top song in the U.S. on November 11th, 1956?
Mid-50s. I'm going to guess something with a real upbeat swing kind of feel.
Not quite swing, but you're in the right ballpark. It was The Green Door by Jim Lowe.
The Green Door. I vaguely remember that one. Catchy tune.
It is super catchy. It's got that playful, almost innocent vibe that was so characteristic of a lot of pop music at the time.
Which is kind of interesting considering what else was happening in the world back then. I mean, this was the height of the Cold War. A lot of tension and anxiety just simmering beneath the surface.
You're so right. It makes you wonder if songs like The Green Door were a form of escapism for people, a way to tune out the worries of the world for a little while.
Yeah, maybe a little musical distraction from the very real threat of nuclear war. Makes sense.
Meanwhile, over in the UK, a very different song was topping the charts, A Woman in Love by Frankie Lane.
Oh, Frankie Lane, I know that one. Much
Yeah.
more dramatic, right?
Totally different vibe. It's full of longing and heartbreak. It makes you wonder if it reflects a different perspective on global events. You know, maybe folks in the UK, being geographically closer to some of the conflicts brewing in Europe, were feeling the weight of the world a bit more heavily.
That's an interesting thought. Different tunes for different moods, I guess.
Absolutely. And speaking of different moods, November 11, 1956 was also a significant day for the Hungarian Revolution.
Right, the uprising against Soviet control. Things were pretty intense there.
They were, and unfortunately, November 11th marked a tragic turning point. It was the day the uprising was ultimately crushed by Soviet forces.
A devastating blow for the Hungarian people who were fighting so hard for their freedom. A real reminder that even as we're enjoying new TV shows and hit songs, there are people elsewhere fighting for their very lives and liberty.
A sobering thought for sure. And sadly, on that same day, the world lost a prominent figure in the entertainment industry, Victor Young.
Victor Young. Now, that name might not be instantly recognizable to everyone today, but he was a big deal back then.
He was. He was a renowned orchestra leader, probably best known for his work on The Milton Berle Show, which was one of the most popular TV programs of the 50s.
A true giant behind the scenes. His music brought joy to so many. And to think he passed away at the young age of 56. It's a poignant reminder that even in the midst of major world events, life and loss go on.
So true. November 11, 1956. A day filled with so many contrasting emotions and events. Joy, heartbreak, hope, despair. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you realize how interconnected we all are, even across time and continents, and how the events of a single day can ripple outwards, shaping our understanding of the past and influencing the world we live in today. It leaves me wondering, how do seemingly small events, the release of a song, the death of an artist, become intertwined with global struggles and shape our understanding of history?
It's something to ponder for sure. And on that note, we'll leave you to contemplate the echoes of November 11, 1956. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.